I never thought that Chequers was a good idea anyway. I'm kind of pleased that it's over. There's no way that anybody's going to sign up to that Chequers deal, are they?
No, I think Chequers is completely dead. I think, Jacob Rees-Mogg said yesterday that not even the Downing Street cat supports Chequers anymore. I presume not even Theresa May knows that she can push forward with Chequers. What's really surprising, though, is this is actually the compromise deal, which she just about managed to get some of her cabinet to agree to. And we put it to the EU, and it's completely unreasonable because it threatens the single market, and they say no. Not happening. And now we've got 6 weeks left of the negotiations, I believe. Well, then, and we have no answers. We have no deal. We're absolutely stuffed, in my opinion.
Well, the thing is, though, you see, there are two things here. First of all, we all know that the Europeans, having been involved in European business, as I have over the years, they love to create a drama and tension, and it's all terrible and it's all a disaster until the very, very last minute. And then they like to pull something out of the bag. And the reason they do that is that they don't want to make this look easy. They don't want to make any other country think that they could get this kind of deal. And the only way that they will come back from the brink is because they realise of the power of the British economy and the fact that we are currently a net contributor to this thing, and that we won't be if we walk away, and that they will lose out. Their budget will have a massive hole. If we walk away, their budget has a massive hole that they cannot fill. They know that.
If we walk away, we're relying on stockpiled food, we're relying on stockpiled medicines.
Rubbish.
Hang on, no, that's not rubbish. The government is actually doing that. We both know that.
No, it's rubbish.
And if people keep saying rubbish, it's going to happen, and we're all going to get egg on our face. There's also going to be 80 billion extra borrowing. As a conservative-minded person, do you want that? But look, I actually agree with you broadly that the EU and the UK will definitely get a deal. But the point is that deal is going to be awful because you're right. They've got more negotiating leverage.
I think it's too early to say whether or not it's going to be awful. My personal view is if the Europeans don't want to negotiate, fine, then we'll just walk away. We'll walk away. We could go and do.
How can you say that with so much relief and relaxation when the Northeast gets absolutely hammered? 16% of its GDP disappears over the next 15 years if there's a no deal Brexit, and a lot of its economy relies on that.
No, but that's
several car
that's
manufacturers. That is not nonsense. That's the government's own internal economic analysis.
Oh, let's all believe that.
It's a government supporting Brexit at home.
No, but here's the point. Here's the point. You're using statistics in the way that most people have got them wrong, in the sense that you're taking your statistics and putting them in aspic. The point is, I agree with you that there is definitely some short-term negative pain as your economy moves from one orientation to another. To assume, however, that we're going to have this kind of flat landing, that all of this stuff is going to disappear and go, and that it's not going to be replaced by something else, is economic nonsense.
Well, what is not economic nonsense and what is not an economic statistic is the Japanese car manufacturers saying that if you do not have access to the single market, we are out of it. What is not economic nonsense is Airbus saying we are out of it if you don't get a good deal with the European Union. Fine. What is not economic nonsense is John Lewis's profits down 99% this year because of a climate. Now, look, point is, excuse me.
That's rubbish.
Nah, okay, you can call everything rubbish when you don't like what you're hearing. But the point is,
it's not whether I don't like what I'm hearing.
If on the 23rd of June, I presume you voted to leave, you had a kind of vision of what our conversation was right now. 4 weeks to go, 6 weeks to go, no deal. There's no prospect of a good deal at all. Would you seriously still have voted to leave the European Union? Because I wouldn't have, and I voted to leave.
Yes.
Why?
Because the half of what you're talking about is conflated nonsense. And this is the problem that we've got with it, that so many people are coming out with stuff that they are putting together based on statistics and more made up stuff and more concern. Where I'm absolutely clear, the economy will have to adapt. If we are not trading with the same people under the same terms, our economy will have to adapt. But guess what? Our economy can adapt, and it has adapted in all sorts of different ways already. So say, for example, the currency movements. It's not ideal to have your currency move by 10, 15 or 20%, but it has done, and we have still survived, and the economy is still growing. It does make it difficult for business when currencies move, but they will move in order to level out what may or may not happen if tariffs are applied. We still do a lot of business outside of the EU, and we manage quite perfectly well to do that. We can still manage to do business within the EU. To think that it's all going to disappear, it may go down, agreed. But then that means that if you're doing trade deals, and it will take some time to get them, that business will go elsewhere.
Well, I think you call it conflated nonsense. It's not conflated nonsense to the person who works in Nissan. It's their job. It's not conflated nonsense to a young person who's just making their way in this country. It's their opportunities that are available to their life. I think this is a really dangerous way forward now, because I don't think we're going to get a good deal. I'm absolutely terrified, frankly, by no deal. And, I voted to leave. I cannot believe that I've actually...
Go live in France, then, if you're that worried about it.
Go live in France. Are you serious? Is that your message to the 87%
Anybody
of...
who doesn't like it, yeah.
Sorry, is that your message to young people in this country who are deeply, deeply opposed to Brexit? Go and live in France. I actually think that's, awful thing to say.
They're deeply opposed to Brexit because they don't understand why it is that... we have ended up in this position, and why it is that we are probably going to be better off out of it.
You cannot just say to a generation of young people who are very concerned with the impact that Brexit will have on their future, and it's a negative impact. That's what a lot of young people think. I think 87% of new voters are actually against Brexit. That they should go and move to another European country. In fact, you're taking their right to move to another European country away through the process of Brexit. And look, the secondary point is this. Is it democratic when they promised it would be the easiest trade deal in history, when they said we would get back 350 million a week and we're paying 50 billion just to leave, for them to twist that mandate into the disaster that is the current Brexit negotiations? You've got politicians
You're
here.
saying it's a disaster. We haven't got to the end game yet.
Well, the point is that the mandate has been completely twisted to something that people didn't support. People supported more money.
People supported leaving.
People supported more money for the... I supported leaving. I do not support this mess. People supported more money for the NHS. They supported taking back control. We're not going to take back control. It looks like we're probably going to be a European rule taker. We're going to give them 50 billion. I mean, the whole thing is a complete disaster. And that is completely why we need a people's vote on the Brexit deal.
Oh, I can't be bothered. Our point is that all of this argument has... it is a lot of conflated nonsense. I mean, for example, when you said, for example, that the 99% reduction in John Lewis's profits is down to the EU or us leaving the EU, I'm afraid that is...
I didn't say that. They said that.
They didn't quite say that. They said it is a factor. They said uncertainty is a factor. When we have uncertainty, then people will make decisions or not make decisions based on what they believe the future to be. The problem with economists, the problem with experts, is that they know when they look back, they can apply their expertise in order to understand what happened. And even, for example, when people look back at what caused the financial crisis, lots of different people have lots of different views, and many people are wrong, and a lot of people who are, fated with having predicted it or this or that, and then they sort of give these pronouncements. They are wrong as to what caused it. We've got a lot of people who are saying a lot of things which are very, very wrong when it comes to the future of this country. And there are a lot of people who have made some horrible mistakes in the run-up that led to the country making these decisions. For example, had there been a proper discussion as we went into Lisbon, as we went into these agreements at the time, that politicians at the time said, this is not a treaty, this is not an agreement, this will not affect you. And it did affect people. And we have affected people of the age who voted negatively in this country. That is why they voted against. So you cannot say that, this is young people's future ruined or this or that, the other. Young people today are being paid for by the people who have been working through this system for the last however many years. They have been contributing in their taxes to the European thing. They don't like it. They don't want it. They don't want to see it. So for younger people to say, you're ruining my future... This is people...
I'm not saying you are at all. I'm saying
this is
that the
people
Brexit
over the
elite...
age of 30 or 35 or 40 who have experienced this. I've worked all across Europe. I've worked across the world. I love international trade. I think international trade is the greatest liberator and the most exciting prospect. The difficulty I have is I don't like political integration. I don't like financial integration because it makes the rich richer and it makes the poor poorer. Full stop. Fact.
Look. It is not just young people. My whole family voted to leave. I speak to my parents. I speak to my brothers, my uncles, etc.
They were right.
Like everybody who voted in my family is deeply concerned with the state of the negotiations.
We all are.
84%
we
of
can
Brexit
agree
voters
on that.
think the process is a mess. People do not recognise what is happening compared to what they were promised. And that is why there is a democratic need to have a vote on whatever Theresa May does or doesn't negotiate, because what she does negotiate, let me tell you, or what she fails to negotiate, is completely different to the sunlit uplands that Boris Johnson promised, to the best trade deal in history that Liam Fox promised. And there is a democratic need to have a vote on the deal.
There's a democratic need to have a prime minister who actually knows what they want to negotiate for.